You know how it is every year. The summer movie season rolls in with this just massive wave of hype. But how often does that buzz actually match what we all end up going to see? So today, let's dive in and uncover the real story of the summer 2025 box office. We're going to put the preseason hype right up against the cold, hard numbers.
And man, the excitement was real. You see this quote from Rolling Stone? It just perfectly nails the mood heading into the summer. There was this feeling in the air, like we were about to get a truly historic season at the movies, a real return to those glory days of totally packed theaters.
And, why wouldn't you be excited? Just look at this lineup. It was completely stacked. You had the biggest movie stars on the planet. Tom, Denzel, Brad. You had these beloved franchises making a huge comeback. Celebrated directors dropping their latest, most anticipated projects. It felt like there was something for literally everyone. Superheroes, dinosaurs, big action, nostalgia. The industry was clearly betting big on a monster summer.
Okay, so promises are one thing, but the box office numbers, that's a whole different story. So let's get to it. Who actually won the summer? The results, well, they might just surprise you.
And here they are, the top 5. What's the first thing that jumps out at you? Every single one of these films is based on something we already know. It's kind of wild. We've got 2 live-action remakes of animated movies, 2 massive superhero reboots, and a gigantic franchise sequel. The pattern here is, well, it's impossible to ignore. We showed up for the familiar.
So get this. The biggest movie of the entire summer, the film that beat out Superman, that beat out Jurassic World, was this one. A story about a little girl and her chaotic, furry, blue alien best friend. Of all the huge, star-powered movies on the table, this is the story that connected with audiences the most.
And just look at that number. Over $421 million. And that's just domestically. That isn't just a hit movie, folks. That's a staggering, landscape-changing number. That's a true cultural phenomenon.
But, the winners only tell half the story. The real insight from this summer, the most interesting part, comes from the movies that didn't live up to all that buzz. So let's dig into that huge disconnect between what we thought would happen and what actually did.
And this is just a perfect example of that hype versus reality theme. Eddington was one of the most talked about movies going into the season. Come on, Ari Aster, with a cast like Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, and Emma Stone, the hype was insane. The reality? Oof. It landed at number 30 for the summer, barely cracking $10 million.
And it wasn't a one-off thing either. Here's another one, The Phoenician Scheme. A new Wes Anderson movie is always a huge event, right? And this one was packed to the gills with stars. Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Benedict Cumberbatch. But again, look at the result. It ranked 25th, grossing under $20 million. The hype, the stars, the famous director, none of it translated into a big box office win.
This chart just says it all, doesn't it? It puts everything into such sharp perspective. On one end, you have this absolute skyscraper of a bar for Lilo and Stitch. In the middle, you have a solid performance from a reliable franchise like Mission Impossible, doing respectable business. And then, look all the way down there. You see that tiny little sliver? That's Eddington. The visual difference is it's huge.
So, after looking at all that, what's the big takeaway? What is summer 2025 actually telling us about what audiences really wanted to see at the movies?
It really kind of boils down to 3 main points. First, live-action remakes driven by nostalgia are absolute juggernauts. Second, despite all the chatter about superhero fatigue, big-time comic book characters like Superman and the Fantastic Four are still a huge, surefire bet. And third, and this might be the most important one, having big movie stars and a famous director is no longer a golden ticket to success, especially if the story isn't based on something people already know and love.
Remember that Rolling Stone quote from earlier? The one that celebrated all the variety we were getting, using Pedro Pascal as the perfect example? You could see him in a huge superhero movie, Fantastic Four, or you could see him in an artsy satire, Eddington. Well, the box office results gave us a very, very clear answer on that one. Audiences showed up for the superhero movie to the tune of $236 million, while the satire struggled to even hit $10 million. The choice was there, and the audience, they definitely made a choice.
So where does all of this leave us? It really makes you wonder, right? With this huge gap between what the media is hyped about and what people actually buy tickets for, what does the word blockbuster even mean anymore? It seems like the safest bet in Hollywood right now is a story we already know by heart, and that's a fascinating and maybe even a challenging new reality for the future of movies.